Hi everybody, welcome. Tammy from Tammy's Homesteading Crafts. Today's video, we're again in the kitchen and we are going to try to do something with all of these tomatoes that I have. I'm hoping to be able to have enough tomatoes to make a batch of ketchup for the very first time. If that is something that interests you, stick around. So before we get started with ketchup making, I just want to welcome everybody to my YouTube channel. Thank you for stopping by. For those of you who this might be the very first time you've seen my videos, I hope you enjoy them. And for those of you who have been coming back each week and supporting me, thank you. I really appreciate it. If you guys have not subscribed to my channel, consider doing so. I do benefit from you guys subscribing to my YouTube channel. Okay, so let's get into the tutorial for making ketchup. Okay, so the first thing that you see here is my table full of my paste tomatoes. I'm hoping when I cut these up to have 25 pounds of tomatoes. If not, I do have some slicing tomatoes that I can add to this. Some of these are like a big boy or a beefsteak, and then some of them are a Heinz tomato. So yeah, I hope to have enough of these that I don't have to go into those, but we'll see. So my next thing is going to be just coring my tomatoes. So I'm just going to take the core out of them, and then I'm going to slice them into chunks. We're going to leave the skin, and these tomatoes, these are alpaca tomatoes, and they don't have very many seeds in them or a lot of that jelly consistency in them. So that's why we use these. They do give off juice, but they don't give off as much juice as a tomato like these ones do. These ones are really full of the little jelly and seeds and a lot of liquid. If I end up using these, I will core them and then I'll kind of give them a squeeze to get rid of the jelly and the seeds, just so that I have the outside and kind of the pulp of the tomato for these ones, just so that I don't have to cook it down as much, because this is going to take a long time to cook. It's probably going to take me close to 2 days to finish this. I did some research on YouTube. A couple of the YouTube channels that I watch, somebody showed on how to make ketchup. A lot of them, they want you to skin them, core them, take the seeds out, and that's a lot of work, and I don't like doing that. So this one said to just to core them and then quarter them and put them into a stock pot. She uses an actual roaster, like a Nesco roaster. I don't have one of those, so I'm just going to put it on my stove on like 3 and with a cover on it and let them start to soften and cook down. All of the spices and stuff that she used to put in them, she put it in and you just blend it through. It's not anything that you do a spice mix, pull out, and it's very minimal spices and sugar and stuff like that. But first thing is I've got all these washed. Now I'm just going to quarter them and weigh them to make sure I have 25 pounds. I'll show you a little bit how to core, but really all you're going to do is just take this out. Oops, if it's in the center of the camera. Take this out of the center of the camera, cut out any bad spots that you want, because the skin is going to be into the tomato. So just cut out any bad spots, like that spot right there I would cut off. And then like on this one here, I would cut off the green and the yellow that didn't ripen. The rest of it is really, really ripe and nice and soft. It's just this didn't. So I would just core it and cut off the hard stuff here and just leave the rest of that. So that's what I'm going to do with all these tomatoes, get them into a container and hopefully have 25 pounds. So once I get closer to being done with most of these, I'll come back and I'll show you exactly what I've been doing. Okay, when you're preparing any fruit for preserving, you need to read the recipe to make sure that you're weighing it. When you have to weigh your fruit or vegetables for a recipe, you need to make sure that you read how they want you to weigh it. If they want you to weigh it as whole fruit, so 25 pounds of whole tomatoes, then you could weigh 25 pounds of these tomatoes doing nothing to them. This recipe calls for 25 pounds of prepared tomatoes. So what she ended up doing was coring them and cutting them into quarters, taking off all the dead skin. Then she weighed them. So that's what I'm going to do now is core my tomatoes. I'm going to put all of my tomatoes in my big stock pot here. It's actually a canner just to store them in there while I cut them up. Then I'll take them out of there, weigh them, and put them into this big stock pot that I have. It's a 16-quart stock pot. I'm hoping I'll be able to turn this on and let these cook down a little bit before I have to put in my other spices that I have to do. Hopefully it won't be too much in this pot that I can just put it on low and let it start cooking. So that's what I'm going to do is core my tomatoes, and then I'll show you how I'm weighing them out with my scale that I have to get my 25 pounds. Okay, so for coring my tomatoes, all I'm doing is just taking my knife and going around the core of the tomato here and getting that out. That's it. Looks like a good tomato. I don't have to cut anything else out of it, and I'm just cutting it into quarters and putting it in my stock pot. So again, that's these alpacas that I have here. They have a nice deep core in them, and I just take my knife and go right around the center of it. Any spots that I see on it, I take off, any hard spots, and then just cut it into quarters to put it into my pot. Now these little San Marinero tomatoes, that's what these ones are, which is another version of a taste tomato. I'm just taking the little tip off of it. There's really not much of a core inside there, and then just quartering them, again, half and quarter. So that's how I take care of all of my tomatoes. So once I get those taken care of, I will show you what I'm doing with how to weigh them. So I have this pot of tomatoes already cut and ready to weigh. I'm just getting my kitchen scale out here. I just have a normal kitchen scale, and then I'm just going to get a bowl that I can put, and then I'll tare it. So what I mean by tearing your scale is turn it on, and it should, when it finally loads, it should be 0. If you put a bowl on it, it's going to take the weight of the bowl. So then you can just reset to 0. It tears it, and now it's 0, so it's not weighing the bowl at all. So now I'm just going to, I would like 5 pounds of tomatoes in here, so we'll see what we have here. Can I get it? I'm trying to get it so that it's not, there we go, now I can see the pounds. Hopefully I can get 5 pounds in this bowl. I did do error. So that put me over 5 pounds apparently. Guess it only does just 5 pounds. So I'm going to consider that 5 pounds. So with that canner bucket full completely to the top, that was 25 pounds of tomatoes. So now I know that when that's full to the top, it's 25 pounds of tomatoes. I really didn't want to have to cook them in this pot because it's really a canner. They might not cook down evenly, so I think I'm going to separate put these ones that are left in here into another big stock pot that I have, and then I have this pot completely full on the stove. Put these both on low with the lid on them and let them kind of cook down. Hopefully I can cook the 2 of them down and actually finish it in this pot. So that's my plan. So I guess I'm going to get the other pot out. I can put a little more in here just to kind of top it off. Turn these on like low, like 3, and let them start cooking, and use the steam of the lid to allow them to start to soften and cook down. Hopefully by the time I get those two cooked down, I can put them all into one pot. We'll see. I don't know. That's my plan. If not, I'm going to have to go back to the bigger pot and see about putting them in the canner pot, because I don't have a crock pot big enough or even a roaster big enough to cook all this in a roaster. So I've got to do it on my stove. So let me go get the other pot and I will get these both going. In the meantime, I'll turn this one on. When I come up, I'll bring the lid up. Okay, so I have both my pots on the stove, set on 3, so that they can just start to get warm, simmer, and soften everything. Like I said, my plan is this one's not as full as the other one is. This one I packed right full. I'm hoping once this softens down, I'll be able to pour that into there and then cook everything down inside this bigger pot here. But they'll be really juicy, and that's okay. I need them to be cooked down, but I'm hoping I can consolidate them into the one big pot. So now let's just wait and let them cook down, and I will get the other ingredients cut up and ready to go in. This is probably going to be a 2-day process for ketchup, because I don't think I'm going to get it all done in one day. I don't know how long it's going to take once I get them softened into one pot to be able to cook them down and thicken. Because once I get everything into the pot, I'm able to take the lid off and let them cook and simmer and allow the moisture to come out of the tomatoes, and which will allow them to dry out and thicken. Once I get it to the consistency I think I need it, I can, we just put it through the blender and blend it all up and allow for all of the seeds and everything to be chopped up. Skins and seeds chopped up really small, so it allows using that material to thicken the ketchup a little bit more. Hopefully I get it cooked down long enough so that I don't have to recook it once I blend it. But if I find that it's a little too runny, once I blend it, I am going to, again, recook it even more. Because, I mean, you want ketchup when you put it on your burger, you want it to stay on your burger. You don't want it to run right off your burger. So you want a good thick consistency of your ketchup, but you don't want it too thick that you can't squeeze it out of the ketchup tube. So we're trying this. This is going to be a process, so I'll keep you informed. Okay, I got all of my tomatoes cooked down into one pot, and all of the spices and onion and all of that in there, and it just now needs to cook and basically render down so it's quite a bit thicker. There is a lot of liquid in here, as you can see, and all of that's got to cook out. Now this will thicken it with all of the pulp that's in there and all of the skin in that, but there's still a lot that needs to cook down because there's a lot of liquid. So I have it on like a 6 temperature on my stove here. I'm going to keep an eye on it. I want it to be a simmer, but I don't want it to be a roll and boil. So once I get it to that point that it's just kind of simmering like that constantly, I'll just keep it at that temp and let it go for a while. It's probably going to be one of those I'll put the lid on it, put it in the refrigerator, and let it finish it tomorrow, just because I don't think it will finish up today. It's already 2 o'clock and we're just now getting it cooked down enough that I can get it into one pot. This is going to have to be at least half of what's in here right now in order for it to be thick enough for ketchup, for me anyways. So I've got to get it to half of this, at least half this pot, and it's right to the top of the pot. But it's now boiling at a simmer there. I just want to keep it to about that. I just don't want it to boil over. The lid is off, and it is allowing the water, the moisture, to vapor to go out so that it will thicken. So that's what we're waiting for. Good morning. It is another day and we are still working on our ketchup. Let me flip you around and show you what we have going on here. Just a moment. Okay, so we now have our ketchup pureed and it is just cooking down. It looks really good. It's starting to stick. Oh, there you go. Stick on the back of the spoon, like, you know, when you want stuff to be thick enough to do its thing. So yeah, I ran it through my food processor and got all the skins mulched up in seeds. There's a few seeds that didn't break down, but most of it is pretty smooth. It actually tastes really, really good. So we're just trying to keep it. I cooked it all night long on low, and it is half of my pot that I have. It is probably half full now of tomato sauce. So as you can see there, the size where we're at, and this pot was completely full to the top, so it has thickened up quite a bit. Probably let it go for a little bit longer, and then I will get it into jars and can it. I probably will maybe take a spoon of it out and spread it on something and see if it is watery still, or if it will sink in, or it kind of stays up like ketchup, because I really want it to be very similar to ketchup when I put it through the jars and stuff like that. So I don't want it to soak into my bun. I want it to be like ketchup normally is when you put it on a sandwich. It kind of stays on top of it and not soak in. So I'm not looking for it to be really watery. So if I have to cook it even longer than this, I will, because that's what I'm looking for. I want something that is going to be the consistency of ketchup and really work like ketchup. So guys, my ketchup is all done, and I actually have it in the canner to do a water bath. It only needs 10 pounds or 15 minutes in a water bath canner. So I will just run it through for 15 minutes and get them to seal, and then I will have them in, I will have 5 quarts of ketchup. Actually, I got 5 quarts and 1 pint. This one's going to go in the refrigerator, and we're going to start using this as our ketchup. So I got my ketchup in there. Let me get a spoon here, or a knife actually. It sticks right on the knife. It's pretty thick, and once it processes, it'll be a little bit thicker. And this is still pretty warm, so once it finishes cooling down, it'll get even thicker with the little bit of sugar that's in it. But yeah, I think it turned out really good. It's very tasty. I was really surprised that it tastes like ketchup. This was a whole new thing for me. So yeah, so that is ketchup. I didn't show putting it through into the jars because it's just something that I do, and I just actually, when I mulch, I just put when it was hot and all cooked together, and the onions were basically translucent and you couldn't even see them anymore, and it had cooked all night and had rendered to almost half that pot. I put it through my Ninja blender that I have, and I just blended it to get rid of all of the seeds and the skins to mulch them up. The seeds didn't all break down, so I did end up taking it and putting it through just a screen. I have a strainer that I use, and it's just basically a mesh screen that I use to drain all of my pasta with. So I just stuck it through there and pushed it through, and I got 90% of the seeds out of it. There might be a seed here and there in the sauce, but not a whole lot. But yeah, that's all I did with that. I totally forgot to show that this morning when I was doing it. And then as I put these in the canner. I just realized that I didn't show how to do that either. But it's a normal canning process. Like I said, once it comes to a boil in the canner, it's going to be a 15-minute boil for the quarts. I'll verify that. I believe it's 15 minutes. It might be 20. I'll verify just what it is for quarts, because tomato sauce or ketchup and all of that is going to be about the same. All tomato-based products, quarts are the same as they are for pints, you know, depending on what you're doing. A lot of times I will do a pressure can for 10 minutes at 10 pounds of pressure, just because I don't want to run the canner as long. But yeah, so that's where we're going to go for that, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. So the canner book doesn't tell you what size jars it is. It just says to process them for 10 minutes in a water bath. So that's what I'm going to do. Once I get the temperature boiling here, I will put the timer on for 10 minutes, and then we will let it process for 10 minutes. Well guys, we got our 5 jars out of the canner. 4 have already sealed. Just waiting on this last one here to seal. But all the rest of them sealed as soon as I took them out. So that's it for the ketchup. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Well guys, that was it for today's video. For 2 days of making ketchup, the ketchup turned out really, really well. I was very surprised. I wasn't sure I would ever make ketchup, just because it's just so easy to buy at the store. But it was actually pretty easy to make. And if I'm able to make ketchup and possibly cut the amount of sugar that's in the ketchup, because I tasted what we made and then tasted ketchup that we buy from the store, which is an organic, low sugar ketchup. And the ketchup in the store is a lot sweeter than the ketchup that I made. So if I can cut sugar out by that, wonderful. You know, just one more thing that I'm able to make with the tomatoes that I grow. I grow that many tomatoes every year, and it just being able to have something to do with them, stuff that I need or stuff that I want. If I know I can make, oh, it just sealed. If I know I can make ketchup that tastes just as good as what we can get from the store, now I know that I'll buy maybe more of those plants so that I can make my ketchup. So yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed the tutorial and took the walk with me to make ketchup for the very first time. It was really interesting, really fun, and it's actually pretty easy to do. I was really surprised being able to cut all the tomatoes up, let them cook down, and then put all your spices in, not having to strain anything. They do suggest that you get like a Vitamix, I believe it is, blender. I have a NutriBullet. It worked okay, but it still kept some seeds in there. So I just took my strainer and I ran everything through the strainer and got rid of a lot of the seeds that were left that didn't break down with my bullet. Yeah, my bullet food processor that I have. But yeah, I thought about maybe putting my tomatoes through my thing and juicing them, but I think you really need the thickening and the flavor of the seeds and the jelly that is in the tomatoes, and also the skin and what's in the skin, in order to get the flavor and the thickeningness of the for the ketchup. Because I don't think I could cook down regular liquid like that I put in the gallon bags. I don't think I can cook that down and get what I want as far as ketchup, that consistency. I think it would take a really long time, and I just don't think it would be as flavorful, because I think the seeds and the skin give it so much more flavor. So that's it for today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and as always, I will see you on the next one. Have a good day. Bye.